this on a weekly basis, and yeah, I just love the mm, metronomicness of this, if that's a word. Not quite sure, but there's just a regular tempo. There's a regular rhythm. Sometimes I am traveling, and we have to adjust the times a little bit. But I love these lives because it allows us to unpack some of the things that we have been studying, and it helps me to be able to teach this before I actually go out and teach it. So, yeah, if you're in this space today, you're not the guinea pig. I hope you get something out of it. But today, there's a fascinating piece of social science research out of Harvard, actually, and I want to share it with you because it kind of explains something I suspect that you've felt, but never really had language for. That's the thing, isn't it? It's finding the right language for things that we've experienced. That is the art of teaching, is being able to actually wrap um, not subjectivity, objectivity around the issue. So that's my attempt today. So, studies on organizational trust, it consistently shows that the most important conversations in any institution, are you ready for this? They're the ones that actually like shape decisions. They don't actually happen in meetings. Now, I want to know if you agree with me or not. Like, violently oppose. Go ahead and use that chat function. Let's talk to each other. The research is clear. They actually happen in hallways. They happen in parking lots. They happen in maybe text threads at 10 p.m. at night. Um, yeah, if that landed somewhere pretty tight, maybe in your chest, just stay with me, because that pattern, I think it's what researchers call just shadow communication. And we're so good at it. In fact, it becomes almost habitually, we all become habitually brilliant. It's not a personality problem at all across your cabinet. It's not like, oh, I wish they didn't have this shadow communication syndrome. It's not a thing like that, right? It's not a trust problem you can fix with a retreat. It's actually a structural condition. And I've fallen more in love with the structure of any institution, if it's worth its salt, has so much culture built into it, because the culture should be building the structure, right? And if you don't realize that, it might be actually costing your institution way more than you know. Um, so you're truly allowed to feel the weight of all of this today, especially if you're leading through hard things. And most of you are looking at your retention numbers, you're looking at your graduation numbers, you're looking at next semester's potential enrollment numbers, and you got socked in the nose with maybe some legislative things this spring that you weren't expecting. So to you, honestly, a big salute. We got a lot going on in our world. Yeah, we're not going to unpack that today because I don't understand it. But we got to hold each other, period. That's where the sentence ends. Um, yeah, but today I just want to show you exactly what's producing that thing, that shadow communication, and what you can do about it before your next cabinet meeting. Because if you're leading and you have that, it's your responsibility. I'm going to be straight up with you. The data is pretty clear. Research that we've done across nearly 1,000 leadership teams, um, it really shows that adding smart individuals to a team does not really improve that collective output. It makes for some pretty glossy headlines for you. So, yeah, if that's happening this spring, fantastic. But in many cases, it actually reduces the reliability of your results. Yeah, adding more smart people. Why? Because individual intelligence and the collective intelligence, they're really two different systems altogether. You can have a cabinet that is just filled with extraordinary people, and I know that you do, and because everybody that I work with are really good leaders, but we have underperforming teams everywhere that I work. So yeah, my it's not my guess. My known is that that's your reality as well. You have underperforming teams. So they're performing mediocre collective decisions together, not because they're failing, because they've never really been given the architecture, again, structure that lets them think together. So Yeah, basic math. If you just put the math to it, this should be compelling. $140,000 might be one of your cabinet members, right? Take that times however many. My guess, you got a little over $1 million sitting at that cabinet table, at that boardroom table. 60% of that is what you have access to, according to the research. Most teams are working at up to, which means not quite at 60% of their overall potential. Think about your communication as a team. 60% might be lower. Think about your connection as a team. Think about your alignment overall as a team. Think about your capacity as a team. Think about your execution, your overall execution for a team. The volumes of research work that we've done, honestly, up to 60% team potential. So in that $1.2 million cabinet that you have, that's $400,000 plus, and a big fat bolded plus in unrealized potential, boss, every single year. Not just like had a bad year. No, if you're not doing anything about it, it becomes normalized. It becomes mediocre, and you're still throwing parties, right? So nearly $500,000. It's not a budget problem. It's actually an architecture problem. So I'm thinking back to last spring. I worked with the superintendent. I'll just call her Maria. She described something, and I've heard it dozens of times since. I have this talent in the room, but somehow I just feel more isolated than I did as my first year as a director. Um, she observed her cabinet. I actually came in and did some work with her cabinet for a couple of days. Yes, just like everybody, individually brilliant everywhere, extraordinary people, but teams that were under delivering in all categories. Yeah, normal. And it's not Maria's failure. It's not the boss's failure. The science is really clear. We train leaders for individual performance, and then wonder why just the collective performance lags. And everything that your system is producing is relative to how your team is performing. There's no individual leader that is actually moving the dial. It's that leader working collectively across all divisions, all departments to make it happen. So here's what the research reveals, and I find it genuinely clarifying. In any institutional under real pressure, you've got 4 behavior patterns, and I think they're not certainly not personality tendencies. You just have ways that people are showing up. I would call it a leadership maturity. I wrote this down for an earlier meeting today. In your system, you've got builders. They're the people that are advancing the mission despite the tension, despite the conflict, despite the structural friction. They name what's broken in the room, and where it is actually producing brokenness. Not in the parking lot afterwards. These are the people that step forward in the octagon while the meeting is happening and call what is, right? They pay the clarity cost, whatever it takes. You know who your builders are in the system. They're highly ambitious, and they're idyllic in terms of just see the mission. We're that close, and we got to keep going. You've got dreamers within your system. They're aspirationally aligned, right? But inconsistently present, I would say. They describe the future beautifully. They come back from conferences and just unload wonderful stories, but their follow through is probably conditioned on probably more the structure and how the structure makes it come through for them. So dreamers are kind of big hat, no cattle. I'm a country kid. So if that resonates with you, yeah, who are the dreamers on your team? And you've got climbers. And oftentimes climbers are a little bit confused with builders, but because they contribute strategically to their own, to advancing, but it's oftentimes really their own advancement, right? They're not malicious. They're just misaligned, and they've read what your system rewards and then respond accordingly, and rationally. And I don't even want to honestly, I don't even want to talk about the last group because it just brings me down. It brings me down because we've got just way too many coasters who have been emotionally exited your system long before they ever physically leave. So, and most institutions have way, way more of these than they realize because the structure stopped requiring other words, otherwise. So, yeah, that's what the research search shows. And I want to just have you hear it really clearly. The institutions that are losing students the fastest are not the ones that are having the worst people in leadership positions. This is not really about personnel issues. They're the ones with the worst structural conditions for the best people. You think of your builders, the ones that have left. Many of them have left because the structural conditions don't allow them to optimize their potential. Yeah, I said it. And you can click me off if you are violently opposed to what I said, but your builders are always making calculations. They're quietly and continuously. Is the cost of staying here uh, what this structure allows me to build? And they're just kind of balancing that cost continuously. So if you're an institution optimized more for coasters or dreamers, it's it's not merely inefficient. It's, I would say, it gets into existential danger zone because you're building that as your culture, boss. And people want to be, your best people want to be a part of winning teams. And if your teams are highly populated by coasters and dreamers and climbers, that becomes the overall macro culture. But here's what really changes everything. In our research that we've done with nearly 1,000 leadership teams, it shows when you build the structural conditions for collective intelligence, where that individual intelligence, it's harder to work through than the collective intelligence. Actually, wrote a little book report on this. This just came out. Yeah, TQ. That's what it's, the culmination of your smarts, your connectivity, the EQ, so IQ and EQ, and then this thing called PQ. And PQ is just your ability to perceive. So you're reading the room, right? You're reading the room before the room reads you. And that is a gift set that any leader has for their system. But I have never really sat in a leadership meeting and heard anybody talk about the importance of PQ. So yeah, you can find this baby on Amazon, and even better, we're doing workshops with leadership teams this spring, this summer, next fall, just around the TQ concept. You might want to check that out. So I've been working with a number of superintendents, a number of college presidents that have put that to the test. Um, so instead of dealing with, suboptimal communication, instead of dealing with suboptimal team alignment and capacity, which is just killing us these days. Like, I can't pedal any harder, boss. You just, that your people are given everything that they got. They have 100% workload, and the team has 60% capacity. So that's going to lead to burnout, which is another topic that I want to bring up, not today, but whew, yeah, the number of people in both education and healthcare, they're on fire right now, just on fire because of burnout, because we expect 100% workload, and the system is the villain. The absolute system is the villain that sets the conditions at roughly up to 60% of all the capability to do the job within the ding and the dong of the school bell, right? So, yeah, teachers and nurses and healthcare providers, they're just jumping ship like we've never seen before. But imagine something just a little bit different at your next leadership team meeting, your cabinet meeting. I don't like the term cabinet. That just sounds so 1950s, right? With boss at the head of the table. But anyways, you know what I mean. But somebody names a structural problem instead of a person, right? and the room just kind of exhales instead of deflecting. A decision that would have required 3 meetings happening in maybe just 20 minutes because your team is now thinking collectively, not defending their territory. That is what this system, this operating system, has meant to teams. You're leaving your meetings energized, not ugh, right? And your meetings are back to back to back to back to back. So just think of ugh type meetings on the hour, on the 55. But you're leaving these meetings now energized, not because you found better people, because you finally built the architecture that lets the people you already have begin to multiply their magic, right? That's what this is all about. So you really have the choice now. You can continue just running all of your personnel strategies and running your next HR director out of your system, because those poor individuals with all just the well-worn carpet that has to get replaced every year because people are just stacked up outside of their offices because of structural problems, folks. That's what it comes down to. Because the climbers, yeah, they're highly ambitious, but they're not real ideal for your mission. And they're just getting in the way of you doing the work that most matters, right? And the coasters that are probably signing up for committees to resist most of the things that, are creating tension for them because they don't, if I'm coasting, I actually just want to be listening to my music, right? I don't want to work hard. So you've got to create systems that make coasting harder than building. Okay. Coasting harder than building. And you wonder why your builders just sneak out the back door. Builders never leave with a big old parade. No, they just sneak out the back door. Yeah. But you can build different. That is my hope for you. And it's the reason why I pop out of bed every single morning, honestly. And I've got just beloved people that I have the chance to learn from as builders, as we're just beginning to build this momentum of builders building other builders, right? So think about it. An average superintendent probably touches 50 leaders, 1,000 teachers, 20,000 students. When you build that architecture for collective intelligence, you don't change a team, you change the entire system. And I would say, even more so, you can change the entire community, because your community probably is anchored into the very goodness of everything that your campus is delivering. So the question really isn't whether you can, the question is whether you will, because it is possible. I'm seeing it happening, and not left and right, but incrementally. And when it does happen, you go, there is hope, because demand is crushing us right now in the public sector. So it's your move. Before your next cabinet meeting, not next month, please, before your next cabinet meeting, and that might be even tomorrow. Um, I drew this in 20 seconds. You can draw this, right? Step one, for every cabinet member, do this privately, do it honestly. Ask yourself, where are they operating right now? Are they builders? Are they idyllic towards the mission and really just hungry for change? Are they dreamers? So, yeah, maybe idyllic in many, many ways, but maybe tomorrow I'll step into the ring, but today I'm just not feeling it, boss. Yeah. Do you have climbers that are highly ambitious, but ambitious more for getting their reps so that they can do something else, someplace else, right? Or coasters. Plot your team. Plot your team. Do it privately. Do it honestly. Don't judge. Just look at it. Just look at it. Step two, ask the harder version of this question, because the reality is, I would say for 20 years, Act One of Dr. Joe's life, right there, I was a climber. Every 5 years, I'd be, year 3.5, I'd be getting itchy, and I'd start the hunt, and I'd do something different every 5 years because I was climbing the rungs. And quite honestly, at age 45, this climber hit the ceiling, and I'm gonna call it burned out. So if that's you, boss, I'm just challenging you to be honest with that reality and maybe count the cost. That's it. Just count the cost. We don't need more of these. We certainly have way too many of these and these and these. Um, and many of us call them leaders. We need more of this kind. We don't need any more leaders down here, here, and here. We need more of the builders. So, and if there's a step 3 in your next cabinet meeting, just name one structural condition. What did you send 3 emails about today that were unnecessary if the structure kind of had a a squareness to it? If your systems and structures were reliable, um, yeah, and you would not have had to send those, go to those stupid meetings or send those 3 emails. What's one structural condition that you have, not a person again, that is producing your worst outcomes, and just wasting a lot of your flipping time? Be honest about that. So all of this comes from the research. Again, I wish that your most important conversations were not happening in the hallway, in the parking lot, text messages at 10 p.m. I hope that you can build your systems and structures so that your meetings um, house, if that hold your most important conversations on campus. So much to talk about next week. I want to just get into the difference between coordination and collaboration. We are masterful at one of them, and we kind of stink like PU at the other one, even though we use the word all the time. Coordination versus collaboration. So tune in next week. Boss, keep your dukes up. I so appreciate you. Appreciate everything that you're sacrificing to do the work that matters most. And don't for 1 minute think that it goes unnoticed. So dukes up. Do believe in peace, and yeah, asking that in boatloads for you today.